The two men ran for their lives. They didn't know where they were running to, they just ran as fast as they could. Branches whipped at their legs and arms. One branch snagged the hood of the first man, wrenching it back from his head. He had long black hair and his dark eyes glinted with fury. "You said they wouldn't see us!" snapped Guy of Gisborne at the man sprinting beside him. The man grinned that infuriating grin. "Nobody's perfect," said Robin Hood. "Not even me." An arrow thwacked into the tree just in front of them, the arrowhead cutting deep. Robin ducked nimbly under the feathered fletching, where it quivered in the tree, not slowing his pace. But as they ran on, he glanced round at Guy again, and his grin had gone. That had been too close. "We should have brought weapons," said Guy. "Yeah," said Robin, "but I thought they'd leave us alone if they saw that we weren't armed." Another arrow sliced between them. "All right," said Robin, "I was wrong about that too." They kept on pushing themselves harder, ignoring protesting limbs. Like wild animals, they darted in and out between trees, making themselves poor targets for the men pursuing them. The thick foliage made it tough going, but it also helped to hide them. At least that's what Guy hoped. Behind them, not far behind them, a man cried out in German, and an arrow shucked through the air somewhere nearby. Guy's whole body was burning with the effort, but he put on another burst of speed. Then he and Robin emerged from the protection of the trees onto a well-trodden path. Robin glanced quickly up and down the pathway, looking for any advantage. "We should split up," said Guy. "No," said Robin. "We're in this together. Come on, I've got an idea." They raced down the path as it wound through the forest. Guy's heart sank. Robin's ideas were usually reckless and risky, but he had little choice other than to follow. What had his life come to, he thought, when he took orders from this outlaw? Shouts in gruff German let them know that the mercenaries had found the path, and the tracks left in it by Guy's riding boots. Robin's own buskin slapped lightly, silently in the dark mud of the pathway, leaving no footprints behind him. Guy knew that if they'd split up, Robin would have got clean away. But he also knew Robin would never leave him. Whatever the circumstance, whatever Guy might deserve, Robin Hood was too much the hero for that. Too much the complete imbecile. He ran on, exhausted, breath wheezing from lungs, every last ounce of energy put into just keeping going. Guy was barely conscious of the world around him, the blur of green and brown, just the steady throb of his heart, his bootsteps in the dry mud. And then Robin stopped. Guy almost slammed into his back. Robin had halted at a crude T-junction, the path splitting off in both directions. "Come on," said Guy crossly. "Which way, left or right?" Again Robin grinned that insufferable grin. "Straight ahead," he said, bounding forward into the bush. Guy followed, leaping high into the brambles, arms raised to protect his face. Branches slashed and slapped at him, but he pressed through and found himself on another path, long obscured by the overgrowth. His boots made no marks in the muddy gravel underfoot, leaving no trail for the mercenaries to follow. As they ran on, Guy glanced left and right. Foliage pressed thickly from both sides where the path had been untended. But this had clearly once been a main road, wide enough for a carriage. Robin seemed to know where he was headed too. With effort, Guy kept on after him. "You'd better know where you're leading us," he said breathlessly. Robin grinned. "I said I know Loughborough, didn't I? I spent summers here as a kid." "You also said the mercenaries wouldn't spot us sneaking up on them," Guy reminded him. "You're the one who tripped the tripwire," said Robin. "You told me to," snapped Guy. "Well," admitted Robin, "I wanted to see what they'd do, and we found out something. They're proper soldiers, well drilled, well organised, almost a professional outfit." Guy nodded. "Whoever hired them must be planning a war." "Yeah," Robin agreed. "I'm glad we made the trip down to have a look at them." "It's just a shame that they're now going to kill us," Guy pointed out, not unreasonably. Robin nodded. "They're not going to kill us," he said. "I've got a plan. We just have to go a bit further." Guy looked on into the gloom of the tree-choked path ahead. "What's up there?" "Castle," said Robin. "I was a page to Lord Brackenbury back in my teens. Taught me how to be a knight." Guy laughed. "You're not a knight," he said. "Maybe not, Sir Guy," said Robin. "But at least I know how to act like one." Guy ignored the jibe. "So these people will help us?" he asked. Robin's smile faltered, and he suddenly had that hard look in his eye he got when lining up his bow. "I don't think so," he said. "They're all dead." It wasn't a big castle. A tall stone keep on the crest of a low rise at the heart of the forest. A boundary wall zigzagged round the keep, enclosing a courtyard and some basic wooden buildings. Robin and Guy scrutinised it from the far side of the wide, fast-flowing river that wound round three sides of the complex like a rudimentary moat. Guy assumed the castle had been built to take advantage of the river and high ground. King William had commissioned fortifications like this all round the country to ensure the good behaviour of his conquered people. But this castle had long since fallen out of favour. Ivy covered the walls. There were cracks and signs of weathering where it had not been maintained. The sky darkened over their heads as Guy followed Robin across the one rickety bridge, up the exposed slope to the narrow gateway, and through into the courtyard verdant with weeds. He could almost taste the decay in the air. Robin stood in the courtyard, gazing up at the stone keep with undisguised horror and trepidation. Then he saw Guy watching him. Robin forced a grin, not wanting to show any weakness in front of a man who had so recently been a mortal enemy. "Some people think this place is haunted." Guy composed himself. "What happened here?" he asked. Robin shrugged. "The war," he said. "You know the oath. Every vassal lord has to provide aid to the king. Brackenbury's estate was never huge, but he gave what he could, including his son and heir, Matthew. I remember Matthew was the fastest, best fighter in all of England. He didn't even make it to the Holy Land. A lot of men didn't. Sickness, disease, follows an army." Guy nodded. "And his father fell apart." "His father had done his duty," said Robin sharply, "but he had nothing more to give. The estate only had a little land, just enough for its own needs. But there were taxes for the war, and then more taxes. Everything this place ever had was squeezed out. People who'd spent their whole lives in the service of Lord Brackenbury would have starved if they'd stayed. Some took their leave from him, but how could you look him in the eye? Some most snuck off in the night, leaving an old man alone, a good man, shuffling round his silent keep." He glanced forlornly back at the keep. "They say didn't live long after that," he said. "In some ways it's a blessing." "And no one ever came back," said Guy. Robin looked round the dejected courtyard. "There's nothing here to come back for," he said. "So what's the idea?" said Guy, eager to get Robin moving. They still had a mob of mercenaries after them. "We hold out here? Defend it?" Robin shrugged. "Maybe," he said. "But I think we've lost them anyway." They turned back the way they had come. Through the gateway, down across the rickety bridge, the forest seemed calm and silent. "Perhaps they're regrouping," said Guy. "Perhaps they're wary of approaching a castle," said Robin. "Or they've heard what the local people say about it." "They didn't look the sort to be afraid of ghosts," said Guy. "But it's getting dark. Maybe they've cried off for the night." A cold breeze caught at them, but Robin didn't seem to notice. He listened keenly, eyes narrowed to slits. Slowly, a grin stole across his features. "Yeah," he said. What do you want to do? Asked Guy. If we leave now, we've got a lead on them. Robin shook his head. There's not enough light, he said. We just get ourselves lost, or stumble right into them again. We can't stay here, said Guy, and his discomfort seemed to shake Robin out of his reverie. Just one night, said Robin. It's been ages since I've slept indoors. Not sure I remember how. We need to barricade ourselves in, said Guy, not liking the prospect at all. He was still used to the comforts of Loxley Manor. Good idea, said Robin. And they must have weapons and defences we can use, he grinned. I think this is going to work.